Rolling Stones top 100 albums of the year. Rolling Stones always makes the craziest list, so let's see. I was really let down by this Slater-Kinney album, actually. And I like the band, but I found this to be a pretty dry record. Common, okay, yeah, this one was good. Wild God, yeah, this was also good. I don't think 97 is a bad place for it. Caliuchis, this record was also really solid, I think. Megan Maroney, really? Ali X, Girl with No Face, I'm glad that that's here. Really happy that that's here, actually. Yeah, I know I love, like, the ambient sound that she has on this, like, 80s pop record. I think it's some of the best, like, 80s inspired music I've heard recently. RM, honestly, guys, this was pretty good. I think this is the best solo project I've heard from BTS. I think that at some places RM can work on his delivery and his presence on the mic on this sort of music, but I think overall it's pretty decent. Porter Robinson Smile, I think this is criminally low. Porter Robinson should be at least top 20. Really fun. And then it also had like some of the touching moments that and emotional moments that Nurture had as well. So I loved Smile. I thought that was a great okay, I said when we first listened to this album, and I said when I did the monthly album ranking that whatever month this album came out, that I don't think this album is as bad as people are saying. And I don't think that it's as bad as people are saying. Because I think that we should reward artists for at least attempting to do something. Even if they aren't the most like creatively like interesting pop artists, I think at least Camila was trying to do something here. What I'd argue it didn't really pan out very well, but I think there's some cool ideas, at least production wise. I just don't think it belongs anywhere near a top 100 best albums of the year list. Floating Points Cascade, yeah, one of the best electronic albums of the year. Again, the textures that Floating Points makes on this record, oh my god, I just love the synth design, the sound design is so addicting on that album. The Last Dinner Party Prelude to Ecstasy, yeah, this is really good. I keep saying this, but it's so impressive. This band sounds this developed for their debut album. It's insane. And yeah, no, I love like the ABBA, psychedelic rock, like indie rock, all of those inspirations, Arcade Fire. I love how they all came together on this album. It's a really good one. Vince Staples, Dark Times, yeah. I think this is a little low for Vince, actually. I love how like dark and emotional and vulnerable this album is. And the beats are really well. So I think Vince should be a lot higher. Ice Spice Y2K? Ice Spice is above Vince. Directly above Vince Staples is so funny. Oh my god. I mean, I don't think this album is all bad. Like Ice Spice does her. I like Ice Spice's one trick. And at points in this album, I'm like, yeah, this is kind of fun, but it is just one trick. And she accomplishes that trick to varying degrees of success on this record, I feel like. I don't think this belongs anywhere near a top 100 list. Sexy Red and Sexy We Trust. I thought this was way worse than Hood Hottest Princess. Blue Lips, yeah, definitely deserves to be in a top 100. Yeah, probably a top 50 album, I think. Lucid, okay, yes. The textures on this album and like kind of how spooky and eerie it is. I love this album. It definitely fits into that like clipping sort of vibe. It's got some industrial moments like that. So I think this is one of the more interesting sounding hip hop records this year for sure. It deserves that to be in there. Maggie Rogers, yeah, this is her best album by far. This is her best album, I think. I love this sort of like 2000s pop rock country pop sound that she has on that album. I think it's really good. Don't Forget Me. Omar Apollo, it's okay. I actually wouldn't not recommend it. I just don't think it should be above a lot of the albums that I've like talked about on this list already. It's fine. It's fine. I shouldn't have scoffed at it, but okay, yeah, again, it doesn't deserve to be right next to Fontaine's DC's Romance. Fontaine's DC, yeah, this album is really good. Definitely one of the best rock albums of the year. I'm really rooting for them at the Grammys this year. I hope they come away with something. Adrian Lanker, come on, top 50, right? God, dude, this album is so intimate and vulnerable. It almost makes me uncomfortable. Like, I've only listened to this album a couple times this year, simply because it's such like a sad, but also like it's the intimacy of it, especially that first song on this record that makes it almost uncomfortable to just listen to casually. But really beautiful album. Shabuzi, there's some good songs on it. I'm not crazy about it though. Brittany Howard, What Now? That one's really good. Cash Cobain, It's not bad. I mean, like, there's something charming about Cash Cobain's style. I wouldn't put it up here, but, you know, to each their own. St. Vincent, I was a little let down by this, but I'm not going to argue that it isn't good. It's still a really good album. I think there's definitely going to be one of the songs off of this album that are going to end up on my best songs of the year list, probably my top 50. So, The Cure, Songs of a Lost World, this is low, I think. I think this should be top 20. The fact that The Cure still sounds this good is pretty crazy to me. Lotto, I thought this album was fun. I don't think it deserves to be above The Cure or like a lot of the albums on here, but this one is fun. The Maria Submarine, yeah, I thought this album was beautiful. Some might say it's a little bit one note, but that one note is gorgeous. Criminally Low. I think this has a good argument for being the best Vampire Weekend album. Maybe that's because I wasn't super crazy about their last one, but and as much as I love vampires, I think that this album I think has such a unique sound to it, and it really does sound like an evolved version of Vampire Weekend. So I think it deserves to be a lot higher than this, honestly. Halsey, I wasn't crazy about it. I wouldn't say it's a 1 out of 10 or whatever Fantano gave it, but you know, I was not like super into it. I think that the concept was a little too lofty, and the personal vulnerable issues, I think it was great. And I think it's honestly some of the better songwriting of Halsey's career, but I think those two things going on at the same time just made for kind of a confusing, overwhelming listen that just, just didn't work out for me. Teacher Not a Timeless Album, this is good. It's a vibey album. I don't think it's going to be in my top 50, but it was solid. Soccer Mom or Evergreen, I liked this one. Yeah, I like this album about as much as I liked Clean, which I think was my favorite album before this one. Color Theory, I think that their 2020 album was also really good too. So Rachel Chinariri, absolutely deserves to be on here. It's great indie rock album. The choruses are awesome. Great vocal performances. Hell yeah. Thames. Yeah, this is great. Thames kind of like moved farther away from the Afrobeats stuff. It's still a little bit in there, but this is a pretty through and through an R&B record, with some electronic influences in there. But I thought the Thames album was really good. Smile Wall of Eyes, sure, yeah. I don't think this is. I'm not crazy about this album. I feel like I'm in the minority here, where I think I liked the Smile's last album significantly more than this one. The ideas on this album are cool. I just kind of wish they turned into songs. You know what I mean? Yeah, I thought this Faye Webster album was a snooze fest, unfortunately. I like Faye's music, but the choruses are just too repetitive. The songwriting isn't all that interesting. There just isn't a whole lot going on. Yeah, this Chief Keef album is fun. 33 probably is in a bad place for it. There's some bangers on that record. It sounds like vintage Chief Keef. Normani Dopamine, it was fine. I think 32 is a little high. Again, like being above like albums like The Cure and like Vince Staples, I think is a little ridiculous. But Vertigo, I liked this album. I don't think it belongs in the top 50. But overall, I feel like this is a pretty solid debut album from Griff. I'd like to see what Griff does next. Mustafa, okay, yeah, this album was really good. Shakira, no. I've never heard an album where Shakira like leaned so much on the features. Yeah, I think this is really corporatized. I don't really love this album, unfortunately. I thought it was pretty boring. Kim Gordon, a lot of people love this album. I need to return to it. I only listened to it a couple times, and I was like, I don't know if I see the hype that much, but I got to listen to it more before the end of the year. Glorilla, Glorious. I thought this was fun, but yeah, I don't know. It was. You can put it in the top 50 if you want. There's some bangers on it. It just isn't the most consistent. Oh, God damn it. It's always Rolling Stone too. It's always Rolling Stone. Like I don't know if Taylor Swift is paying Rolling Stone, and they always have their guy that like writes about Taylor Swift and just glazes her beyond belief. I don't understand it. I don't understand it. This is like one of the worst. I think this is like bottom 3 Taylor Swift albums easily. And also, this is the original version. This isn't even like the anthology version, which like the majority of the good songs off of this album are in the anthology version. I Got Heaven, yeah, this is really good indie rock album. Loud Bark is one of my favorite songs of the year. So Kendrick Lamar, GNX makes sense. They were probably already like almost done with this list when GNX came out, and they were like, holy shit, I need to like put that on there now. Yeah, I think 21 isn't like a terrible place for it. I'd probably put it a little bit higher than this. Really, really good album from Kendrick. I would also put Jack White's No Name probably a little higher than this. 20 is not a bad place for it. I think this is the best Jack White solo record I've heard. Jessica Pratt, this was good. Yeah, I don't have a huge problem with that. Interesting putting Chromacopia above G and X, but I don't hate it. I think this is like Tyler is such a visionary. So yeah, this is cool. I really do like this Tyler record. So Cindy Lee, dope. That's cool. That's cool that Rolling Stone is tapped in on this. McGee, I think yeah, I think this should undeniably be a top 20 record of the year. This is an album that I actually didn't listen to it right when it came out, but so many people were like telling me, they're like, why didn't you cover this album? Why didn't you cover this album? You have to listen to this. And then once I got around to it, I was like, God damn, this is really fucking good. And like really unique and specific. So much so that a lot of artists are like clearly just trying to mimic McGee's sound. And it's a great sound. Claro Charm, yeah. I mean, this is it's a really good album. Again, like I think I said when I listened to this album the first time, my reaction, I do kind of miss a lot of Claro's songwriting on this album because it is so arrangement focused and production focused and instrumental focused. But overall, like those instrumentals are so good that I can't really be mad at it. I don't think it's a bad place. Yeah, this is a good album, as much of a dork as Zach Bryan is. Waxahachie, a lot of people love this album, so this is another one I need to revisit. I thought it was really good, but I don't know if it's top 10 of the year territory, but I'll re-listen to it. Doechii, again, I'm not as crazy about this Doechii album as some people are, but it's still really good. I don't know if it's going to be in my top 10. I feel like it starts to fall off a little bit towards the end, but the peaks of Doechii are incredible on this album. So definitely one of my favorite rap albums of the year, regardless. And yeah, I think Doechii is going to be a massive star. So I'm excited to see what else she puts out. Ariana Grande, Eternal Sunshine. This is probably a little high. I like this album, but this is probably a little high. It's not Sweetener. It's not Thank You Next. And, you know, I kind of wish it was a little bit more focused like those records were. So, We Don't Trust You. I mean, for trap representation, I think this is a pretty good album to throw in there. It might be in my top 50. I just think it's going to be pretty low. Because it is a really fun record. I just don't know if it needed to be as long as it is. I thought this was a really good debut from Tyla. I was not expecting her debut to be as good as this is, but I was really impressed. I think the chorus, the writing and like the hooks is really, really strong. So yes, Billy, yes, top 5. This is a pretty good place for it. I like that it's in here. Yeah, I think this is pretty much as good as their debut album. It maybe better, but I think this is as good as her debut album. So, and if you know anything about me, I really like that record. Yeah, it's a really well put together album. It might not be the most adventurous in Billy's career, especially from Finny's production wise, but I thought their chemistry on that album was really, really strong. Sabrina Carpenter, Short and Sweet. It's like a fun, like, smash pop record. I'm just not head over heels over every track. I'm not even sure if it would be in my top 30, 40. We'll see. I don't know. I think it's fun though. I ended up listening to that album more than I thought I would. MJ Lenderman, yes. I don't listen, I haven't watched or read like any of the criticism on this album. I should probably watch Fantano's video because people tell me to, because people know that I really liked this album. Yeah, I don't know. I just think that his songwriting is so charming. Like, again, it's stuff that I feel like a lot of artists wouldn't be able to get away with. But I think MJ Lenderman just has such a unique voice and unique way of writing about it that even though it is silly, it comes across really well to me, personally. Cowboy Carter, yeah, this makes sense. Probably, yeah, top 5 album of the year. Number 2 isn't a bad place for it. And I'm really glad that it wasn't just a straightforward country album, that it was just more Beyonce record. And Bratz, yes. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense to me. I think right off the bat, though, this is a pretty good choice from Rolling Stone. I think it probably is the most obvious choice of the year. No Magdalena Bay is the first thing that I noticed. No Magdalena Bay, no Father John Misty, no Mount Erie. I feel like this is missing a lot of stuff. But yeah, no Magdalena Bay at all is really interesting. I think that's a little ridiculous. And Rolling Stone, I'm sure, knows of that record. There's no way they were able to ignore it. No JPEG Mafia either, I think is, yeah, that was a great record from Peggy this year too. Oh yeah, no Greep, no Jordy Greep. No Raven Lene either. No Laura Marling. Yeah. No Magdalena Bay or Biba Doobie or Peggy or Remy Wolf or Greep not being in the top 100. Top 100? Mac Hami knocks loose. Yeah. I think yeah, the exclusions on here are a little egregious, especially considering, like, listen, I like the Sabrina album, but it being that high I think is a little silly. I would have left off Ice Spice.